Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Home Staging Talk Show Live. I'm Jenny Norris, your host, and Home Staging Talk Show Live is brought to you by the International Association of Home Staging Professionals. I'm the chairwoman of the association, and it is the largest association in the world. We have about 4,000 members worldwide, and we have been doing this show now. This is episode 89, if you can believe it, 89. And so excited to be coming to you live, and our guest today is Theresa Thomas, fabulous stager from Delaware. And so before we get to our topic, which is all about marketing, I'm going to just do some general announcements like I always do. First of all, it's starting to rain. All right. That wasn't my announcement, but I hear some drips. If I have to pick up my computer and run inside, you'll know why. Oh my gosh, this will be a first. I thought being outside would be a good thing. Oh gosh. Well, I am under an umbrella. John, can you help me?
What?
I'm live, but it's starting to rain. So you think
I can get another thing over you.
Yeah, I put that other umbrella up. I think I'm just going to stay outside here. We'll just see how it goes, unless it starts thunder and lightning. Okay. The pleasures of being live. You guys probably can hear that. I swear it was like sunny like 10 minutes ago. This is like Colorado.
Is that better?
Yeah, I think so. So we'll see how this goes. All right. How loud is it? Can you guys hear okay, or should I go inside? Because the rain now is kind of loud. So Keely, Moana,
for like 2 minutes.
and Moana and Keely, let me know if I'm being drowned out by the pitter patter of big drops on my umbrellas. So anyhow, while we're determining if I'm going to jump on, grab everything, and go inside. Fear has two meanings: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. That's been our theme for the last month or so, and we're going to continue talking about that. And we want to rise to the challenges we're facing and come out of this stronger than ever. So that is our goal. You know, a couple weeks ago, we launched our Staging Industry Diversity Coalition, and Deborah Plowden, of course, is heading that up. And she's already had a couple of calls. So if you want to be part of that, you can go to sidcglobal.com. sidcglobal.com. Hi, Martha. So you guys let me know if the rain is too loud. I was not anticipating it. A storm. I swear, you guys, this is Colorado weather in the summer. It's kind of fun to be outside. But again, you guys have to let me know if you can't hear me okay. But anyhow, the Staging Industry Diversity Coalition, very important initiative. If you want to be part of that, go to sidcglobal.com. There's a little form you can fill out, and that will give us an information that lets us know that you are interested in participating and just having conversations. And I'm going to just, again, share which I've done in the past on this, that I don't believe our industry has been discriminatory against any groups, any individuals, as far as not letting them be part of the industry or excluding them from speaking or being part of events. But I think there has to be more of an awareness to make sure that we are, having a diverse representation, for people. And so I'm just going to challenge all of those who are in that category. If you are a minority and, you want to see more people like you speaking and sharing and so forth, people have to step up and submit topics and to be part of that, because we don't know what we're not told. So to my knowledge, there isn't any kind of a blockade, but I do think there is a way that we can help support those that may have challenges that others don't, or just to hear the conversations and the stories. So it's not about making anybody feel guilty or anything like that. And Deborah was real clear about that, but it is an important initiative. It's getting louder. All right. Our Best of Home Staging awards or nominations are happening right now. And so Best of Home Staging 2020. So people can be recognized for staging excellence, industry leadership, or client care excellence. And you have to nominate people. So you can go to bestofhomestaging.com and please nominate. So in the last couple weeks, I was like, oh my gosh, there's been so many nominations. I'm so happy everybody's doing that. And what happened is the nominations were feeding into last year's spreadsheet. So I had this big number after like 4 days, and I was like, wow. So anyhow, we don't have as many nominations as I thought. And I do want to encourage all of you to please nominate your colleagues. And you can self-nominate as well. We have until July 17th. And then we want to be able to toot your horn, and it is industry open to anybody in the industry. It's not specific to an association. You don't have to belong to an association to become nominated and be recognized. Anybody can nominate and just have to follow the criteria. So let's get those done. Don't wait until the last second, please, because that makes it tougher on us to go sifting through and to be able to create the logos and so forth and get them out to everybody. So the sooner you can do that, the better. Getting wet. I know. My computer's not getting wet, is it? No, it's okay for now. All right. Okay. Remember, we have our home staging statistics. I think I should go inside. I'm gonna carry this inside. So, okay, yeah, because it's getting wet. All right. I gotta get my plug though. Okay, everybody, hang on. Let me grab my cord so that doesn't get wet. Oops, sorry. All right. Stagers are flexible. If anything else, we know how to go with the flow and make changes. And so I'm now moving inside. Oh, so hopefully that's better. Okay.
You want any lights on?
No, because they make a weird glare.
Oh, baby, come in, honey.
Oh, little Rocky's outside.
Yeah.
It's okay. The cat's outside getting drenched. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Sorry, everybody. Okay, and I got to plug in my little thing here so I don't overheat the computer. Dang it. Bear with me, everyone. Where's the damn cord? Oh, there it is. Okay. I see it. Okay. Oh, that was a first. I don't usually go outside. Well, I had the last few weeks because it's been so pretty out there, and it's a nice backdrop on our deck, and our house is very crowded right now with extra people. So anyhow, staging statistics are out, as you know, and they're for us to all to use. So you don't have to be an IHOS member to use the statistics. Anybody can. It's just in their industry. In fact, people who submitted information, they were from everywhere. They weren't just IHOS members. So it's a home staging industry-wide survey, and it's for everybody to use. It's a 34-page document, and then all the little graphics that are pulled out, you can use those as well. That kind of parse out how many days on market for luxury properties versus average, the impact on sale price, et cetera, plus a lot of education for realtors. There's infographics that teach them our consultation. What is that? What the average pricing is on that, and just our process. So the more that we can educate people about what we do, the better opportunity we have to be paid what we're worth, because people won't assume things from misinformation that they're fed by other resources who are not, they really aren't in a place to be able to quote our pricing and so forth. And so our goal is to educate, and outreach. So go to homestagingstats.com, homestagingstats, STATS.com for that. Okay. Just want to remind you that adding home staging to your interior design business, people, if you know anybody who wants to get into staging and they're a designer, have them watch this. It's complimentary. There's no charge. It's on our iHosp site. I also posted it other places, and it's just about an hour-long webinar, and I actually just gave the same talk for the Atlanta market people yesterday. And I don't do the exact same canned info. I always tell different stories and so forth, but it's good information for them to understand the differences between staging and design, the different nuances, and then the expectations and so forth, because they really are two complete different industries. And I see a lot of designers wanting to get into staging. And so do yourselves a favor, watch the segment first and get some information, some knowledge about the similarities and differences, so you really understand what staging is all about. And then one of the biggest things you need to do is to get some education behind you specific to staging that will really help you. And we are Thursday, right? So today's Thursday, but normally we're on Wednesdays. And so yesterday I was doing the Atlanta talk, so I couldn't do our show. We are moving to a new time, so it's going to be from now on 10:30 on Wednesdays for our talk show. And that gives me a little bit more leeway to maybe do the show from different locations versus 9:30 in the morning. And those of you who know me know I am not a morning person. So I do not get up at 7 a.m. and, do skip and do a cartwheel and so forth. I'm up really late usually, so I like my sleep. But 10:30 will allow me to have some flexibility. And so starting this week, moving forward, it'll be 10:30, and I'll make sure to correct all the data that's online for the different events. Hi, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Our virtual conference will be coming, and the dates we're looking at, I don't want to do it on a weekend because I feel that was our original conference was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but we were all going to be together. And so my belief is that if I do this on a weekend, people have family and you're doing things, so no one's going to attend. So we're looking at doing it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of that following week, which I believe should be the 29th, 30th of September, and October 1st. And how we're going to structure, it'll be half days for all of them. And so one half day of education that everybody can attend, one half day of parceled out beginner, intermediate, advanced education, and then the third day would be our designation that we will continue to give out. Very timely, the cultural diversity expert. How fortuitous was that I chose that months and months ago, not knowing all of this stuff was going to happen in our country and around the world. And so I think it's very timely that we do understand different cultures and how to work with them and signals that they give. And so that will be a designation that will be provided. And we're still working on how we're going to segment things out and offer pricing and so forth. But that's the plan. So as soon as I have that all firmed out, we'll be sending out the schedule. So of course, these are our speakers that will be sharing. Chris Widener, who is an author. He's just finished his 21st book. It'll be released in September. Positive motivational speaker, business expert, business coach, very knowledgeable, worked with Zig Ziglar. So he's worked with Jim Rohn. So a lot of you know those speakers, and just a great guy, lots of knowledge and wisdom. So he's going to talk to us about our businesses and our leadership roles and so forth. And then Johnny Fowler, marketing expert. He is so knowledgeable on social media, so he'll be sharing. And then Ravi will be part of the designation. So all three of our keynotes will still be with us, which I'm excited about. And then our advanced stager training, as I shared last week, we're looking at moving it to a live location, probably in February, somewhere warm. And there will be a limited number of spaces available for that based on where we're going to hold it and any COVID concerns. But I'm not going to do an event where we have to sit 6 feet apart. So if that's still the mandate, then we will not have a live event, because to me, there's no interaction, there's no synergy when you have distancing requirements. And that's not what I go to an event for. I want to be able to hug people and talk to them and so forth. And I can learn the information online. To me, it's more about the, as I just said, the synergy and the connecting with colleagues. And so if we're not allowed to do that, I don't want to have a live event. So that's what we're looking at. I'm hoping by February we'll be all set. So just look for details on that. If we can't do it live, then we will do a virtual advanced stager training for 6-figure and above stagers. So I think that's everything. All right, that was exciting with the rain, and I'm gonna bring Theresa in now. Hi. Oh, hang on a second, you're muted. Hang on.
Oh,
There you go. Hi.
hi, how are you?
There you go. Oh, well, that was exciting.
So you're not sugar.
So now where are you? You're on vacation, right?
I'm
So thank
in
you for
South
joining me on your
Carolina.
vacation.
I'm coming to you live from what's normally sunny Folly Beach, South Carolina, but we're having a rainy day here too. So it's the perfect day for this. Yep. So yeah.
Well, and tell people, so for people who don't know who you are, fabulous Theresa, tell people who you are, about your business, where you're from.
Oh, my name is Theresa Villier Thomas. My company is Stage Right Home Staging. We're headquartered in Wilmington, Delaware, and we have warehouses in Sussex County and Newcastle County, Delaware.
How far apart are those, your two warehouses?
2 hours, a couple hours apart. Sussex County, Delaware is primarily beach and vacation homes, primarily, but there's other residential areas. People are starting to move down there now for year-round. But I found the inventory we use down in Sussex County varies so greatly from what we use in Newcastle County that there was no sense in toting it back and forth every time we use it.
I thought about doing that in Summit County, because there's really nobody staging up there, and that's all the ski resorts, Vail, Breckenridge, Keystone, Copper, and lots of really high-end houses. But if I chose to go up there, it's about a 2-hour drive like yours, and the inventory would be different. So exciting.
It's completely different. Yeah, it's good.
So our topic today is, I took a staging course and I named my company and I have a website. So why don't I have any business?
Uh-huh.
I don't have any business, Theresa.
Well, right now is a
Why?
crazy, crazy time. I mean, gosh, you and I have been in business. You've been a little bit longer than me, but 14 years, and I've never seen anything like it. It's crazy. But it's interesting though, because when we were in what I would consider a stronger lockdown than we are now, I was busier than I am now. So I think that everybody, the taste of freedom we're all getting after having been in quarantine for so long has got all the buyers coming out of the woodwork, and all the sellers are starting to move as well. As a matter of fact, as I shared with you this morning, right now, I had a client call me this morning whose realtor advised them against doing staging because the market's so hot. So there's that, and people could
I
be,
have some words for that realtor. I can't say them publicly.
but this is a
I
family
think that
show.
I know. I think that, in the what I would challenge that realtor. So realtors have a fiduciary responsibility to get the very most in the sale of the house. So somebody who tells a client not to stage because the market's hot and they don't need to, they're
Mhm.
doing a disservice to their client. And I love my realtors. I mean, I'm married to one, and my son is one as well. And so, but I had the same thing happen. It's very frustrating. And so, but let's talk about, so the question I'm asking, in not just for business in general, but for the new people who are getting started, they get education, hopefully, please get
Right,
education. You name your company, you get a website, and then you sort of like, why is the phone ringing? What's going on? Why don't I have any business? And
right.
so for those people, what would you say? So I mean, it's not enough to just do those things. What's the big thing that they're missing?
Well, I mean, right now, like I said, it's crazy. So to get into business now, it's a little bit, it's different than say when you and I started. But it's important when you're marketing to understand that you have to always be present. So it's not just a matter of hanging up a sign and saying, okay, here I am, I'm your stager. You have to network, you have to build relationships, you have to meet people at real estate offices. It's all about now it's about networking and showing people who you are and what you do and why they need you. And
Right.
that's where Barb's saying educate, educate, educate comes in. You're constantly educating people as to why you're the best choice for them. Again, back 14 years ago when I started, there was maybe one other stager in the industry. And since then, dozens have come and gone.
Right.
But it's important to just show people that you're a serious business. Everybody thinks it's so much fun, that this is a real business and there's a real need for it, and it's very time consuming and it's an investment. It's the only thing that people can really do to their house to make a difference in what they see for their end price. So, their investment in home staging is going to get them their money back. And until people actually see that in action, they're not going to either believe it or understand it. They're going to think it's like you're being pitchy. But I said pitchy.
Yeah, I got that.
Correct.
But
So they're thinking that you're just pitching what you do. But I mean,
yeah, no,
obviously,
marketing is so important. And so it's not enough to just have an online presence. You have to market yourself. And so the things Theresa mentioned, networking, developing relationships, because when I got started, it was 18 years ago, and people didn't know what staging was. So it was educating just them. What is staging? Why would you even need it? And then now, flash forward to where we are now, there is much more of an awareness of staging, but there's still people who resist, even though, oh my gosh, statistics prove that you get more money for it. It shortens the sale time. Even in a hot market, yeah, you might get multiple offers, but you're leaving money on the table. I guarantee you're leaving money on the table because the house could look really great with staging. That's going to compel people to want to come in with more money. And I know people will have to appraise. Well, not if it's a cash offer where people will make up the deficit, where it appraises. If they really want the property, they'll do that. But it is frustrating that just because it's a hot market that people try to shortcut the process. And, an agent, and again, I love my realtors, but, a seller who can get $10,000 or $20,000 more for their property, that's a lot of money to them. And that's like $300 to $600 at 3% to a realtor. And most of them aren't getting 3% if they're negotiating, if their commission is, reduced at all. So to them, it's like, meh. And I don't think that they're consciously thinking that, but I would like them to kind of really flip and think like, how can I get the most out of this property, because that is also income in their pocket. If every property they were able to get another $300 or $600, that's another, let's say they do 2 to 4 properties a month, that's 600 to 2,400 extra, or 600 to 1,200 extra a month, which is significant when you start multiplying it over the months and years. And so, but new people have to market. And so, so let's talk about you.
Can I just
Yeah.
add to what you also said, that I think it's important for people to remember too, is that the buyers that are coming into the market now, first-time home buyers, sometimes even second-time home buyers, they're the Henrys. And we learned about the Henrys at last High Point. They're the high earners, but they're not rich yet. So they have the potential to get these higher, the younger buyers have far more spending power than we ever thought of having at their age. And we're not marketing to grandmom and grandpop, who I fall into that category anymore. We're marketing to buyers who have had the internet their whole life, have had cell phones their whole life, who, we're not talking 2007, 2008, when the market was so hot before the bubble burst. We're talking a whole new generation and a whole new thought process. And the expectation that comes with that thought process is that everything's perfect when they move in. And they were raised, HGTV was a thing when they were born. So this is all they know. And if we start going backwards thinking that we're doing our clients a favor by not staging a property, then you're lowering the expectation and the perceived value of the buyers, and they're not going to offer as much. So I think that's real important to remember and stress as well. And I know we're talking about marketing, but this is, I think, a real important point that some people don't hit all the time. It's, who are we marketing this property to?
Demographic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Joseph has a question. I've not seen staging companies supplying their realtor partners with sign writers. Well, we did back in the day. That's a good point. We had, staged this house, staged home, and it was, branded as a staged property, and that was, people could take the class. So Staged Homes issued those, and they were branded with the logo, the ASP logo, and so forth. And then I know some people did some yard signs, and they were very successful, to some degree. And then some agents wanted them, some didn't. Some homeowners were like, I don't want people to know that my house is staged. Like, really? Like, because they live there and, they look great. But there's all sorts of ways you can co-brand or do something to help call attention to a property. So that's another great idea. Maybe it's time to resurrect that thought and see how successful it is. Because the industry is not new anymore, so you can't claim, like, when I got started, I was the only person, so I could say I was the first. I really helped launch the region and so forth. People that are getting into staging now, you need to have your unique differentiating factor, like what's going to make you different than everybody else. And it's not price. Trust me, it's not price. You do not want to be the person that comes in and does things cheaper than everybody else and undercuts the market, because you cannot sustain your business long term. And that's why when Theresa said there's people who have come and gone, it's a lot of work. I mean, so just this week, every day has felt like Friday. We had a client we worked with that the house did go under contract right away, but I'm not kidding. It was like, we should have had hazmat suits and tongs, because the team literally removed adult diaper-filled diapers that had been sitting, I know, isn't that gross, in a closet for 4 months while she was in the hospital. And, people don't realize what we do. They think, oh, it's so fun. It is fun and it's rewarding. It's not glamorous. It is hard work. We're sweating and so forth. And I think that people, when they really get into it, they don't really realize what it entails, the new people getting in. And that's because, and this has been my gripe the whole time, all of these shows, they do not show the work that goes into staging. They don't show the furniture that breaks in the warehouse and all the logistics. And I know there's been an attempt to try to show some of that with, people doing their own shows, because you can't get a network to get behind that. And so people producing their own footage and so forth and airing that locally, that's a start. But I would really like to have the real nitty gritty, guts and gore of staging what we go through, because it's not glamorous, and it can be very frustrating. And, as a business owner, I mean, I had every single person on the team today. I had 2 D stages, and they, everybody for one reason or another is not available except for one mover. Well, I can't run a truck and a crew with one guy. So and now I'm like, okay, I have to find people who are reliable and make sure that they know they can't, and they didn't give me more than 12-hour notice. I can't operate that way, because I can always find help if I know I need it. So I was very frustrated last night and just was throwing things, because I wanted to quit my own business, because I'm like, I don't want to do this because it's frustrating. It shouldn't be this difficult to do what we do. And so part of that is growing pains. We just added another warehouse. And so anyway, so new people who are watching, you do have to get out there and market. And in general, what is marketing? So it's the way it's not paying for expensive advertising and so forth, but it's the way that you generate interest in your company and in your services. So it's it's a way for you to create an awareness.
That's what's real important too at the very beginning is, you're going to be investing your time, but try real hard not to invest a whole lot of money in it, and go to, they always say, go to the low-lying fruit first, which is your real estate agents. You're going to have, a million salespeople are going to call you and want you to spend money, expensive advertising in local newspapers. And honestly, I would tell you that you're going to get more bang for your marketing buck, whether it's money-wise or time-wise, from investing that time in your social media accounts, because that's going to get you to the people directly to your market. So when I want to target people that are the individual home sellers, I will boost a post. I'll pay some money to Facebook or not Twitter, Instagram, to boost a post, and that's going to get to your local people. As far as your real estate agents go, join your local real estate association, your board of realtors, and then start making your list of who you want to target directly. And when I say who do you want to target, what's your niche going to be? Are you going to work mostly with investors? Are you going to work mostly with luxury listings? Are you going to work mostly with occupied homes? I mean, whatever you decided, you have to know what you're aiming for before you shoot your arrow. And that's how you decide where you're going to spend your time or your money on your marketing. Most recently we've stepped up into the majority of luxury listings, which to me they're a lot more work, but there's obviously the compensation rises as the work rises as well. But we've done a whole lot of marketing in that realm. And when you get into those certain higher end markets, it is really a word of mouth thing. It's a word of mouth type of thing. The quality that you bring in, as far as, and that's what you need to maintain. And when you put something out there that you're marketing, you have to put your money where your mouth is in that area. Like if you're going to say we're the best luxury home stager in the area, you better have the luxury pieces. You better have the luxury inventory. You better have the things that back up what you say. This doesn't mean you necessarily have to go out and invest in, the highest end furniture possible, but you have to get something that equates to it. People aren't buying, typically, people aren't buying the furniture. So if you're going to get into an area where people are going to want to buy your furniture, then you're going to have to make those huge investments. And there are stages that have to do that. So anyway, to go back to the marketing, decide where your goal is. What's your goal? Who do you want to market to? Don't say everybody. Pick your niche and aim towards that, and then grow from there.
I think for new people, starting out, you're cultivating relationships. And so I always say work your warm network. So a lot of people, they get in and they're like, well, I don't know how to find realtors to work with. And so they might Google people, they might see signs, but I'm like, people who know people. Mm-hmm. So that's where I usually advise new people to start, is take a look at who's in your life right now and ask them, do you know any real estate agents? Mm-hmm. And certainly if we're affiliates of the industry. And so any other affiliate, whether it's a lender, a title rep, an appraiser, home inspector, a photographer, video person, they're all marketing to the same pool of people that we are. So if you know any of those people, that's a built-in database that you could hopefully tap into, mm-hmm. And cross-pollinate your marketing. So that's a really efficient way of marketing. And of course, you have to get out and be seen. It can't be done from behind your computer. Social media is great, and boosting posts, like you said, that's effective, but there still has to be one-on-one engagement, and you have to pick up the phone. You got to set appointments, go to where the agents are, to their events, or she said join your local realtor board. It's usually about $250 a year. Mm-hmm. I would ask what kind of opportunities there are for an affiliate to get in front of the people. Do they have events? Do they allow you to come and present? Because I don't want to just be a name in a directory. I want to be able to have the opportunity to engage. Yep. And I wrote down the definition of marketing. So it says marketing is the process of interest and of engaging potential customers and clients in your products or services. So the key word to me is process. Marketing involves researching, promoting, selling, and distributing your products or services. Those are all action words. Mm-hmm. Those are all verbs. They're all action words. It's not, marketing is throwing a logo online and sitting back and waiting for the phone call to come in. And I think a lot of people think that what we do, we make it look easy because those of us have been doing a long time, we're very efficient. But furthermore, the public doesn't see everything that we do. They see the finished product. They might see the truck roll up, and then we take a couple hours in the house and they go, my God, that was really fast. Boy, that's easy. I can decorate. I can go buy some stuff and put it in a house. And they don't realize the hardest part of this business is getting the business. That's the hardest part, because the logistics, it's physical, it's demanding and so forth. And, that can be a pain in the butt on its own. But the hardest part is getting the business. And that's why I think a lot of people get in and then they leave, because it's not easy. Not at all.
And you can't be shy, and you can't be afraid to ask people for the audience. And again, you do make the phone call, but as Jenny was mentioning before, the best, most effective way to get a lot of people quickly is office meetings at real estate offices, which means you have to bring a breakfast or bring a lunch. I try to do a breakfast. It's just easier and not as complicated and cheaper. And you can
you could also piggyback with, like, if an affiliate that lender or title rep is going, and then listen, statistics and data is boring, and they talk about the interest rates and what's happening. And I know it's informational, but what if they also had you get up and share some little tidbit or some marketing, some, home staging tip or something that was beneficial to the agents? You could piggyback on that if you don't have the resources to provide the full meal.
Correct.
That's an opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
it is, and in my world, I just, I prefer to just do it, get it over with, and be done. So, because the lunch plunks you in the middle of the day, it breaks up your morning, it breaks up your afternoon. So, that's my preference. It's not my demand, because ultimately, if they're giving you an audience, there's where your value is. I actually, in my area, another person you might want to tap into is your insurance guy, because one of my insurance guys is the best guy I have. He does a real estate class every month, and you get a whole hour, and he pays for the lunch, and he just has people come in and do the speaking. This last class we had over 70 people, 70 agents. So it's really get creative. Don't when you make your list of warm contacts to who you can reach out to for real estate leads. Don't say, oh, no, what would my insurance guy know? Your insurance guy, actually, my insurance guy is my biggest source of referrals. So it works out really well.
So asking, it's all about just asking your people in your life whether they are doing things like that, what kind of educational opportunities you have to be able to participate. Now, if you're new and you're saying, well, I don't want to get up and speak in front of a group, you don't have to do it that way. I mean, you can do, you do have to talk to people. So whether you do it in a group of 70 people or one-on-one, you have to, have your information. You have to know your stuff, because they're going to ask you questions. But more importantly, you have to be really good at interviewing them about, their business, and then being able to help kind of identify how staging is going to help them increase their productivity, increase their success, get more business, get referrals and so forth, because those are the hot buttons for realtors. That's what they want. It's very, very hard to be a real estate agent. It's very competitive. John and Stephen had 3 listings they took, and all 3 of them, one of them is on hold now because the gal's like unsure. One of them is in jeopardy, and the third one, it was nothing that they did for any of these, but the third one, the people are again, there's a delay. So it's you have to constantly out there filling the hopper, and so they're under a lot of stress. And so if there's anything that we can do as stagers to help alleviate some of the work that they have to do, make things easier for them, but also help them make more money, be more productive with their time, and take some of that off their plate, those are the hot buttons. And I think a lot of realtors, it's not that people can't tell someone to declutter their house, to some of the basics, but I always question, do you want to be in that role? Do you really want to be the one to go in and tell people that their house is dirty or messy, the dogs are too hairy, or whatever it is? And so realtors that pull themselves out of that role, out of the hot seat, are not jeopardizing the relationship. And instead they let the stager come in, and we're the ones that can deliver the messages with kindness and so forth. But because you don't want to risk that and have the client get upset at the realtor for any reason, because they feel like they're being critical. And so there's a lot of things that as a stager, you need to make sure that you're really well versed, if you're new, about all the benefits of working with you. And it's not about that your inventory and how great you are and how creative and talented, how fun staging is. They don't care. They don't give a crap about that. It's all about what's in it for them and how's it going to help them be better at what they do.
Right.
And
also too, I think that when you have a partnership with a real estate agent that they can depend on you and count on you, I think that it brings value to them, because they can, when people hire a real estate agent that brings in more people with them, then it's seen as I'm hiring 4 people for the commission of 1.
Right.
I mean, and typically, I come in and I do like a quick consultation for the majority of my agents, and then I consider it my job at that point. They're giving me this introduction, a hot introduction, by having me go in and do this consultation, and then I have the opportunity at that point to turn that into a staging. So
right.
You're getting paid money to do the consult, but then it can become your next staging projects. I happen to work with occupied homes, so
we do too. It's and it's I can see why a lot of stagers don't like doing the hands-on, because it is rewarding to see, but it's much more challenging than doing a vacant as far as being able to pull the look together, because in a vacant we're totally in control of what comes in, the artwork,
Right.
etc. It's all cohesive. And in occupied, we're trying to mix our stuff with what the owner has and trying to make it look better. And and they may have issues that you can't, whether it's health issues or whatever, that you can't remove certain things, and so it is more challenging. So I always feel when those houses go under contract quickly, I feel really proud of our team, because those are very challenging. And plus you're dealing with the people themselves that they're stressed out. And so it's a whole different animal than vacant. And consultations are easy to crank out, but
Right.
Consultations are also challenging, because it's not about you go in and you're telling people what sometimes I think is pretty obvious, like make your bed and close your toilet and clean.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about developing rapport with them and making them understand why they have to do these things to get sold, and do it in a way that doesn't hurt their feelings but compels them to want to do it. That takes skill and practice, and because we don't want to go in and be a dictator. And those of you that are watching, if you haven't learned some of the scripting and role playing on how to get people to do what you want without being blunt and direct and hurting their feelings,
Mm-hmm.
you need to learn how to do that, because I've run across, a couple of times where people have had stagers in the past come in, and I always ask, like, what do you know about home staging? And they'll tell me their experience. And I'll never forget this one client said, we had our consultation last time we moved, and the stager came in and we didn't like her. And I said, really, why? And she didn't like any of our stuff, and she came in and she criticized everything, and we called her Vicky the Nazi. It's like, okay.
It's a real way to get yourself fired too. You go in it because the first thing they're going to do after that consultation is they're going to call their agent and tell them, how mean you were, and how you called their baby ugly and told them to take down the Velvet Elvis. And they're gonna look at you as the bad cop. And when I start working with an agent, I tell them to expect that, because I'm doing what they would have to do. And you can, I said, agree with them, be the good cop. I'll be the bad cop, you be the good cop. You agree with them and just say, yeah, I know, but if she says you need to do it, then you need to do it.
And one of the best things I've learned over the years is to always explain the reason why I'm telling somebody to do something. Like yesterday, I was working with this client. We were supposed to do a phase 2, but she can't afford it. And so she has, a cute little place. And so she had this little, there's her front door and there's a window, and then there's this like circle window above it. But in between, she had this thing hanging on the wall that I couldn't tell what it was, but I'm like, that thing has to come down. She goes, you mean my dog's sombrero? I was like, yeah, that needs to come down. Why would you leave a dog sombrero? And I said, because I noticed that. I didn't notice your pretty circular window because my eye stopped at that thing on the wall. And she'd already been told that because another person on the team had gone and worked with her, and I was just doing a follow-up, and she hadn't taken it down yet. So when I said it, it was my daughter, Lorna, where she goes, I already told her to take that down. So I'm like, that's got to come down, because it just is a distraction. And, people are just funny about, and I said, you're going to have to take it down anyway because you're moving. So just pack it up. But sellers have strange things in their houses. You never know what you're going to find. I think with marketing, so as Theresa said, figure out the niche that you want to focus on, whether it's investors. Now, right now, investors, they're struggling because of the COVID. A lot of them, if you don't have people making rent, payments to you and your rental properties, you have no income. You don't have any income, you don't have any money then to fund other projects. And so people who have multiple 10, 13 properties out there, they're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And some of them are going to lose these properties because they don't have the income to support. At some point, I was thinking like that, the food chain, the forgiveness of making payments. At what point, who's the one getting stuck? Like the buck stops here. Who's the one getting stuck? Is it the bank? Who's holding the note? Do they get to go to somebody and say, I can't, whoever ultimately who's at the top of the pyramid there, and how forgiving they are. But the investor market right now, it'll recover, but that might not be like your first focus because they're struggling. So to me, real estate agents are always the bread and butter of our industry.
Mhm.
So you want to work with real estate agents, realtors, and then you can work with builders and investors. You can work on short-term rentals. You could do occupied homes. You can do vacant homes. You can just do consultations. So there's a lot of services that we can offer, and it's about how to market yourself. So you can also find out what real estate schools are in your area. And this is, I'm kind of, gearing this towards some of the new people as far as the expectation they're going to sit back and the phone's going to ring. That's not going to happen because you have to make it happen. But even of those of us that hadn't been in business a long time, it's a good reminder to think, never stop marketing. You always have to be marketing. You can't sit back and rest on your laurels. And so find out even what real estate schools are in your area and see if you can sponsor their education classes. And then what are you sending out on a regular basis to get your name, your name going across the eyeballs of your clients? What is happening? So you have social media. Are you doing any kind of a newsletter, a flyer that you're sending out, a blast? You can do property blast. Zip your flyers. There's all these different flyer companies, and you have to pay. You develop the flyer, and it gets sent out to their database of real estate agents, and they'll tell you your open rate and so forth. But that's a great way. You're just to have your logo and a quick message going across their eyeballs, but it has to be consistent. So what are you doing to be actively marketing to generate the interest and the leads for your business?
Yeah. And I agree with Jenny on that wholeheartedly. You have to be consistent because they'll forget your name in a heartbeat. And, I've been around 14 years, and they, unless they have you right at the tip of their tongue, then they're going to they have, most real estate offices have a little vendor area. They'll go and grab the first business card of a stager over there, or they'll ask their colleagues in the office who they use. And if it's not you, then you've just missed that opportunity as well. So that's the key. And what Jenny said about the flyers, you can do that virtually or a physical flyer where there, at least in my area, there's somebody who will print the flyer for you and take it and stuff it in every mailbox at every real estate office in the area as well. So it really just depends on which direction that you want to go. You can do your own newsletters, but that means developing your database as well. And how's that going to go? So plan with that in mind. Have your what's it called? Your customer
Objective?
database, your relationship management system.
Oh, CRM, yeah.
Yeah, your client relationship management system, and do that as you go. Because if you wait and do it at the end, that get all those names and emails in there, and then you haven't got it organized properly, then that's going to be another giant task for you to do. Guilty.
Yeah. So what I do every year is I go through, like, probably this 6 months in, I'll go through January through June in my client notebook of all the calls and the people we've worked with, and I'll get all their emails together, because a lot of them are already in my database. But if they're not, I'm going to make sure that they've been added in. And I collect a lot of business cards too. I might have a stack on my desk, like, let's see, where's my fingers? 2 or 3 inches thick. I can't find it where I am. There's the camera. And so those aren't doing me any good sitting on my desk. So you want to, anytime you get a business card, immediately put it into a spreadsheet. You can do an Excel spreadsheet. That spreadsheet can be uploaded to any of the data CRMs, whether it's Constant Contact, Eye Contact, anything, even 17 Hats. I had a conversation with them recently as far as what they offer for people, our industry. And so it's all about time efficiency. And the one-on-one is super important. Do you know that you can sign up for GMass, which is through Gmail, and you can have up to 500 names go out, I think, per day at the beginning level, and it goes out as a personal email. So it doesn't go out as a mass email that's going to get clogged somewhere. even though it is a mass email, but it's a great way to send one email out to several hundred people all at once,
Wow.
but it goes to each person's individual mailbox. So that's a new service they've had out for about a year or so. So you want to check that out, because that way it doesn't come across as spam. What I get annoyed about, and I've noticed this with Constant Contact, the way Gmail segments out, you got your primary, your social media, and your promotions. They segment out your email based on what they think the email is. So if I'm only looking in my main level, the primary, and I'm not paying attention to the other two, and I just delete them, then no one's ever going to see your flyer. So you have to have ways now to kind of bypass how they're parceling out the information that's coming in. And Google's doing that on their own. I don't know about other email services, but I'm sure there's some of that where you have your junk and your spam. So they're deciding without your input who goes to the junk or spam. Now, of course, I know we can always override that by saying this is not spam, but your things that you're investing in may not be getting to their eyeballs. And
right.
So we have to find ways to kind of outsmart that.
And some real estate agents, internal servers have really high thresholds for spam. So even sometimes when we send out a proposal to a real estate email address with the attachment, just the attachment makes it bounce. So to Jenny's point.
Yeah. And then I always tell, we have a lot of seasonal marketing slogans and so forth. And again, you have two layers of marketing or even more. You have your brochures and your business cards. You've invested dollars in designing those. So you don't send your brochure out to every single person because those are more expensive. So you have to have layers of marketing materials that you send out. So postcards or flyers. I know that they may read it, they may not. I want them to see my name, the company name, the information, and it's going to go in the garbage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why you have to have something consistently every month or more frequently, even going across their eyeballs. And so I've always plugged into holidays and seasons, because there's something every single month related to either a holiday in the month or a season that you can create a slogan or something around and do a drop off. Right. Or include that in a newsletter. And we did a lot of pop buys in the beginning, because they'd see you. That was back when the gatekeeper, the receptionist would allow you to get back behind. We could put stuff on realtors' desks. And it was just something like an example would be Smartie candies. Mm-hmm. Put 8 of those or so in a little baggie with your business card, and your slogan is "Be a Smartie, stage your listings." I mean, right. The Smarties or you could do candy bars is another one of my favorite. Raise the bar in your business with staging and do a candy bar. Or you have See's candy. Buyers only know what they sees, not the way it's going to be, and you put your label on it. So I'm like the slogan queen. So if you can't come up with a slogan, you email me. I'll get you one for you. July 4th is coming up, right? So what are you doing for the 4th of July? In the past, I've done Make Your Business Boom, like with fireworks, with staging. Get your listings to sparkle with a little sparkler. You can even drop off sparklers with that to your agents. What else could you do? For 4th of July. Well, those are my two favorite. What do you think? Do you have anything you send out?
I think it's highly appropriate, especially with what we're going through, that there should be some reference to freedom for this 4th of July.
Yeah.
There should definitely be some, celebrate your freedom this year. And
yeah. I mean, so there's all sorts of, you can nuances or things, slogans you can, but August is kind of hard because there's no holiday, but it's hot August nights. Mm-hmm. So staging makes your listings look red hot. And so I've gotten the little teeny, the little teeny jars of red hot sauce. You get those at the dollar store. You can buy them online, little tiny ones. And then the red hot candies, I did that last year. You just put your label on them and you can drop those off. And people go, where do you get that? Well, there's this great place called thecandywarehouse.com. They have all the old school candy that you can think of, all the old school candies, and then anything, you can buy them in bulk. And so they come. And so that's not expensive to do versus developing a really expensive marketing thing or advertising in a publication is expensive. And so your target database, if you're new, I always teach you want to have at least 50 people that you're targeting. And then, so we're not talking 5,000 of these you're making a limited number, and you're getting them into the hands of the people that you would like to work with. And drip, drip, drip. Listen, realtors like to be wooed. Who doesn't want to be wooed and pursued? We don't want to be pests, so I call it being pleasantly persistent. But even if somebody says,
what's important too is that it's memorable.
Yes.
You want to be memorable, and you don't want it to just be, you can be in a large print ad, which does get you exposure, but is it memorable? I mean, anybody can do that, really.
Right. I mean, I go back to like the visual, because we're a visual industry. So Joanne Leonard Wary has taught, when she would do presentations, she'd come in a robe, she'd have pots and pans pinned to it, and she'd say, how many of you realtors are trying to sell houses that look like this?
Mhm.
And I've also had it where it's seen where people come in and you have just a ton of like scarves and all sorts of layers on, and you're a mess. You might even have like a curler in your hair, and you come in, and of course the first thing people are thinking, like, what's going on? And then you're representing a house that has too much in it. You start peeling the layers away until you're staged and you streamline it. So there's a lot of visual things you can do that are memorable. And it's all about pursuing that relationship. And when somebody says no, I know that's really hard to hear. There's a lot of realtors that already have stagers that they like. So your goal is not to go, well, when you work with me, I'll do it cheaper. That lacks integrity, right? You can leave the door open and say, well, gosh, if that person's ever unavailable or they ever, decide to leave staging, I would love the opportunity to work with you.
Mhm.
So you're leaving the door open without being slimy.
Mhm.
And there's plenty of realtors who don't work with the stager right now. All the new people coming in, just because they're new doesn't mean they're not going to be successful. They may have a really good database already. They can hit the ground running. And you
Right.
want to be, from the beginning, be their partner in success. And there's a lot of stagers that do come and go. So when they leave, all of a sudden the realtor's like, I got to find another stager. So they'll either go online or they're going to ask their colleagues, who do you use and why do you like that person? So
Right.
the networking aspect of it is really crucial, and you cannot escape that. So as people are getting started, you have to start building your database of potential leads and contacts who can lead you. People will lead you to people who need you. That's one of my sayings. People will lead you to people who need you. So just because the person you may know is not an agent doesn't mean they don't know somebody who can get you connected to a realtor, a builder, and an investor. So,
Yes, ma'am. I agree.
and now Joseph says thoughts on prospecting on Zillow. So what do you mean, Joseph? Like finding houses that aren't sold or finding agents that advertise on Zillow. So Zillow does have Zillow agents. I profiled every agent, and when I first got started, it was in Sacramento area, and I profiled all the agents who had listings. I did hash marks for like, this person has 5, this person has 10, this person has 1. So I went and I did that. It took me days to profile, and I'm like, I'm going to go after the ones that have more listings because it's more likely that they're going to need staging. And so being able to find people to work with, but you can also identify properties that need help. Sometimes, I've had stagers ask, let's say you have a house in your neighborhood that hasn't sold and it doesn't show well. Do you knock on the door and tell the seller, you know what, your house needs to be staged, and because I live in the neighborhood, I'd love to work with you. Now you can do that. The chances of offending the realtor, though, who didn't think about bringing you in, because now you're making them look bad, and so they will probably resent the fact that you went behind them and pursued the seller directly, because the realtors like to remain in control of the process. So what I usually recommend is contact the realtor first, because that realtor, once they see the light, they're going to have listings to use you repeatedly. The seller will use you one time.
Well,
And
for that situation, Jenny, what I do is I actually have door hangers, the little cutouts for the doors, and it doesn't really, although I do target the houses with the for sale signs with them, it just says something in here. We staged your neighbor's house, and we wanted to just let you know that, so you're really not saying, you're not targeting that house directly. It's almost as though the message is saying, just wanted to introduce ourselves. We were in the neighborhood staging anyway, so here's what we do, and here's how we work. And should you decide to sell in the future, please give us a thought, or I can't remember the word for word, but yeah, give us a call. Staging will help your house sell faster and for more money. Just wanted to introduce ourselves because we were in the neighborhood helping one of your neighbors.
yeah, and so that's not hopefully going to offend the realtor doing that. I think that's an effective way, because they're going to probably go look at the house anyway and see, why does their house look better than mine, type of thing. So
Jenny, don't get me wrong. Whether or not I have staged in that neighborhood, that's the.
Oh, you're dropping it off.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. At least that way, it's like, yeah. I mean, at least that way, the language is such that, hey, we just happen to be here anyway, and so
right. And then
on the market.
Another effective way to get exposure, you could develop a blog and a newsletter. Theresa touched on that. So the key with that is you have to be consistent. So don't start a blog and then do it like one time and then 6 months later there's nothing, because then that's not exciting. So whatever you do, you have to be consistent, because people start expecting to see you. Like even our talk show, you have a consistency. You start developing a following, and people want to hear from that. So a newsletter, a blog, those can be publicized even through social media, and social media itself is it is free. However, they've gotten smart as far as knowing to get the exposure. And Johnny Fowler shared a lot of this too, as far as Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and so forth. You do have to, there is an element of pay to play in order to get boosted. And one of the tips he gave is to not put a website address that takes people out of the platform, because they will suppress that, because they don't want people leaving the platform. And I didn't realize that, and I'm like, well, how do you then, like if you're doing an event, you want people to go register, you can't put the domain for they have to go register in the actual post, you're sort of stuck, and you can't even have it in the graphic. So I can put it in the comments, and then that way it won't get suppressed by Facebook. So there's a lot of things that we don't know that's going on. And so we think, okay, this will be effective marketing, and people aren't seeing it the way we want them to. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about marketing to avoid really quickly. We got about 4 minutes left. And with the blog, Joseph's saying, who is the target audience? And he actually put on here, Zillow gives you, go to Zillow.com, search, sell, select work with an agent, type in your zip code, search advanced, and sort by most listings. You can see the agent has the most listings on that platform. Very Zillow, cool. I will say that Zillow does not get the live MLS feed, because a lot of the companies have restricted them getting accurate data. So they're a little bit behind the time as far as the data that's on there, as far as pricing and what is sold and not sold. But certainly the agents that are on there, that would be real, data you can use to kind of profile who you should be targeting in your area. And then have your message when you call them, this is why I'm calling, have it short but sweet. I'd like to get together with you and talk about staging and how it could impact your business positively, get you more listings. And you talked about some marketing to avoid the magazines. Mm-hmm. You're right. You're going to get calls from a bunch of different people who have magazines. I love the ones like, we specialize in this exclusive golf course community, and we have a publication that goes out to all of our homeowners, and they reference it and they use all the people on the publication. Oh, really? How many houses? Oh, there's about 500 houses in the subdivision. Okay, how much is it to advertise? It's only $400 for you to put your quarter page ad. If you want something bigger, it's $1,000. So I've tried everything. I have done those ads. Did I ever get a phone call? Not even one. And it's not like they give you the database to follow up on people. And so I've done advertising, like an editorial. So it's like informational advertising. So it's an article about our company and business. And what that did was create more people who wanted to be stagers than anything else. Mm-hmm. I want to do what you do. I have done advertising. I've done radio. That's quite expensive, can be effective as long as the show you're on is during a good time. Let's see, what else have I done?
I had more success with radio than anything else. And the best way for magazines and radio is if they start calling you and asking you to spend a lot of money on a thing. I just tell them to call me if they have anything left over that they want to sell cheap. Call me back. Let me know, because I'm not going to be spending $1,500 for a quarter page ad. So if you have any, and they know that, I'm like, it's not worth it to me. But my radio advertisement got me, I made my money back and then some on my radio advertisement, and it got me a lot of, publicity as well. So it was interesting. So, but my magazine ads, never.
So Martha's asking, I have friends in Northern Cal that are successful agents, but I'm in Southern California. What's the best way to leverage them to grow my business in my area, or should I not focus on them? Those agents, depending what office they're with, they have colleagues all over the country. So all you have to ask them to do is simply ask them, can you do a warm introduction to some of the agents that are in your office down here? Because they know you and they trust you and like you, your friends. And so they can do a warm introduction to agents in where you live now. That's what I would ask them to do. And, leverage that relationship that way. It's all about who you know. People will lead you to people who need you. So, advertising in community directories, that doesn't work. Advertising in real estate office folders. Now that's another one that people I've done this too. We're going to put your name on the folders that all the agents use to bring to their clients' houses. And that's what they put their listing information in. And your name's going to be right there. And so everybody's going to use you. And that's like $400 or $500 too. So we have to be wise with our dollars, because, we don't have deep pockets with staging, unlike what people might think. Our profit margins, if you're 30 to 40% profitable, that's great. I know if you're in building mode, you might be less profitable than that. And so you want to be really wise with your dollars. And to me, the wisest investment of your dollar and time is getting one-on-one with an agent, a target client, a builder, or an investor.
I agree. I agree
And
wholeheartedly with
that.
Jenny. I think that you want to get I think the whole key to getting into the office meetings is to get your warm introduction to that group in that office. And then from there, you get your one-on-ones with those agents. I always, even at the beginning, I didn't spend a whole lot of time on the people who weren't as accepting of the message. I wanted to get to the people who were, I wasn't really compelled to convince people. I wanted people who understood the value of what I did and wanted to really partner with me rather than have me be somebody who was constantly kind of begging for their business. So I think that's important too. You'll get a feel of how people feel about staging when you get to talking to them about it. Some people think they can do it themselves. And my favorite line for those is, one day you're going to be busy enough that you're going to need me. And when that day comes and you don't have all that time to bring furniture in and out, I said, wow, you have a garage full of furniture to stage your clients' houses with? They're like, well, no. Well, that's when you need me.
Right. Yeah. The day's going to come when you're going to need me. I'll be ready to go to work with you, because, time is the great equalizer, and an agent that is taking the time to do all these things because maybe they don't know that, staging, they maybe think it's too expensive. My client won't go for it. They want to retain the control. Maybe they just love the creative part of it. They're wasting time doing that because they don't make money staging. They make money listing and selling houses.
Right.
And so when they get that, an agent that gets that realizes I'm actually more effective and productive when I have a team behind me that I can trust, and I can get them plugged in because they can use the time that I'm using to walk around with their client to be making more phone calls and prospecting for business, because that's how they get paid. And so it's not that they don't have an eye or a flair. And, everybody thinks staging's so fun. But let me tell you, as soon as that realtor starts having to schlep the furniture and vehicles, and they do it a few times, they realize, I'm like, what business are you in? Right. So, those are the selling points that we can make to the agents. And I agree, we're not here to convince people and beat them over the head until they say yes. Somebody says no, move on. There's plenty of other people who are excited and are open to the information. And I'm going to suggest a lot of people who are newer go after the newer agents, because they're probably younger, they're fresh, they want to gain an edge right away. They probably know about staging because it's not a secret anymore. It's not an unknown thing. And they're not going to be this old, like, I've been doing this for 40 years and I'm just fine, thanks. It'll be like, what do I need to do to gain an edge and make sure my clients are served in the best way? So find those agents, the real estate schools, Kaplan, Keller Williams has a school. So there's a lot of, just do some research on the real estate schools in your area, because they're graduating agents all the time. And those are real estate agents. Then they have to choose to become a realtor. So that would be my strategy for new people. And again, don't go with the mindset of, I'm going to find somebody, I'm going to undercut some other stager, I'll come in and I'll do it cheaper than everybody else. Sometimes people do that because they think, I don't have experience, so I can't charge as much. You charge what the market will bear, and then you need to get some education. If you don't know what your market will bear, don't guess. Talk to somebody who's in the industry, and if they won't tell you, you come to me, because I will tell you exactly what the going rates are around the country, because I've taught everywhere and I know, and I have colleagues everywhere. So I don't want people guessing, and it's not about price fixing, but I don't want somebody coming in at $20 an hour when your market can support 125 as a stager, and you just don't know because nobody told you. And so you don't want to leave money on the table. And then, that undercuts the industry. People think, well, I'm making money, but really, are you making money? Because, you're leaving a lot of money on the table.
Well, I think too, but by undercutting, I think that, when you really break it down to the whole the project as a whole, you're working for a loss. When somebody tells me that, oh, well, we went with the stager that was half your price, I said, wow, I hope she likes working for free. Because hourly, by the hour, when you look at, when you break it down as a real professional does, you're not getting, there's no way that you could be running a profitable business and be charging those prices, unless, I guess, she's working out of her basement. I don't know.
Yeah, or just not really accounting for all the time that's being put towards the project.
Exactly. They're
not paying themselves for the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just about covering the furniture and the if you have delivery guys or whatever. It's also how much are you actually netting, and your tax return will be very revealing. I'll tell you that.
Exactly
And of course,
right.
I operated at a loss the first year, and then you want to start making profit and so forth. But it's exciting to see the income come in. You have your expenses and so forth, but you don't want to be operating at a loss because then why are you in business?
Right.
And I love what I do to help people. We're helping them accomplish their goals and so forth. But I also want to make money. Got bills to pay and so forth. And so you want to make sure you're keeping an eye on that.
Between you and I mean, and I can tell you exactly where, where stagers who don't charge enough money lose their business is in the down the road stagings. There's some stagers who are doing a flat fee for however long it takes the house to sell, so they're not collecting rental fees, so they're getting people that way, and then they're doing it for half the price. But what ends up happening is if you just cover your behind with your staging with the one fee, then future stagings come in and you run out of supplies, your stuff is going to get damaged, and it does get damaged. You could use a table one time and it breaks and you never have it again, and then you don't have the money you need to replenish your inventory. So there's a reason why the business models that have been set up the way they have been are successful. And to come in and think that I'm just going to come in and do it for cheaper and get all the business. Oh, there's one person in my area is like, oh, I'll just do it as a favor. Yeah. So I mean, I get there's people that if you want to be in a popularity contest, then that's a whole different thing. Don't be a stager.
And it's also to the point of where you're getting your people are more sophisticated now. The buyer's expectations about what is in a property can't be from dragging out mishmash from your house or Salvation Army. And certainly we can repurpose things. All the people that are painting furniture, beautiful work being done, but the expectation is very different than when we started.
Right.
And so I actually picked up a staging for a stager that just declined to finish or do the job. She was like, she accepted and was like, I'm out of furniture, so I'm not going to stage. And I thought, wow, that's so unprofessional. I'm like, if I run out of stuff, I go buy more. I mean, I make my commitment. I follow through with my clients. I would never leave them in alert. And that's happened several times here. And to me, that's a stager that you've overextended yourself. You're not making money on the rentals, like you said. I remember in the beginning too, stagers that did that. We're not going to charge for any ongoing, but they didn't cap the amount of time that their stuff could stay in the property.
Right.
So if you're going to do that kind of a strategy, like, well, we'll stage it for you, but we'll let you have it for 60 days or 90. They just left it open-ended. And a year later, the house was still not sold. And all their stuff was tied up in this house. And they wrote to me and like, what do we do? And I'm like, well, you didn't have that properly in your contract, your agreement. And so, they're not obligated to give you the furniture back, and you can try to negotiate that. But that's a really unfortunate. You lost out on all this money that you should have been making on your things, because it shouldn't be free. The rental companies charge money. Court, AFR, Brook, they all charge money for their stuff. So why shouldn't a stager get paid the same way? We shouldn't have to be looked at as the cheapos. I was thinking about this morning, and this will kind of end with this, that, staging industry, we play a big part in the successful sale. As I talked about, our statistics show that we impact 20% of the properties that were bought and sold last year. That's a significant number. Some markets, it was more than that. Some were less. And so when we're asked to can you lower your price? Can you shave it by a couple $100, whatever? I'm like, they must think that we have this big fat profit margin, which we don't.
Right.
If you're coming in at $2,000 for your stage and they're asking, can you do it for $1,500? You've just knocked off, 20%,
25%. Yeah.
So I'm thinking, like, the realtors then, did you knock down your commission? Did you decide to give a little back because the seller is so tight on money? Or is that what you're doing? Oh, well, I would never do that. So why is the expectation on me as the stager to give up money? Or to be expected to be paid for our value?
That's where I educate people again, and I remind them that this isn't one project. This isn't a one-time project. It's a two-time project. So I have to come in and set everything up, and I have to come and break it back down at the end. So the prices that I give you are my prices, including all of that work. So yeah, they will. So-and-so is going to do it for me for cheaper. Well, then, okay.
Right. I can't operate my business at a loss. So Ayers, it is recorded. So this is a live segment, but it is recorded, and then I publish it to our homestagingtalk.com, our YouTube channel, and you'll also see it on different pages as well. So you can watch it. So thanks for tuning in. Good to have you. Well, I think that is all of our time. And Theresa, I love you. You know that.
I
Good to
love
see
you, Jenny.
you.
Thank you.
Glad you're on
I'm
vacation.
so sad we're not going to have an in-person conference this year, but it's okay. I'll see you soon. I know I will. I get to see you here. I get to see everybody here. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope I
Hey,
helped.
thanks for tuning in.
Listen,
See you next Wednesday.
If there's any questions or anything that you need to ask me, just reach out to Jenny and she'll give you my Facebook name. I kind of went incognito for a little bit.
I know I couldn't find you.
I know. Well, it's crazy.
Yeah, told me why. Yep.
It's crazy.
Oh, hey, Poland. Dzień dobry from Poland. I know how to say a few things. Daj mi buzię, which means give me a kiss. And then I can say, I always say dzień dobry, and okay, because I'm Polish, Roxana. I am Polish, and my family went there years ago. I learned how to say a few things. So those are the two I can remember off the top of my head is hello and give me a kiss.
But they're all Polish swears.
I didn't learn any swear words. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back next Wednesday at 10:30, our new time, 10:30 Mountain Standard Time.
Thank
Wednesday.
you.
So see you then. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.